in his first IndyCar Series start will win. That was awesome! That was awesome! A Rahal wins in Mid-Ohio.
If you look at the summer months, we hadn't finished outside the top 10, and our average finish is better than 5th place. And I think that all started really with Detroit.
We won it, baby!
Rahal goes to victory lane in Detroit.
Great job!
He's going to get out the broom and sweep the doubleheader weekend.
Going into Watkins Glen, I felt 100% that we were absolutely one of the best teams out there, had been one of the most consistent teams. And so Watkins Glen was important to make sure that we had a really strong result, had a really strong finish, and gained as many points as we could over our competition. What sets Watkins Glen apart is that it's so unique in the speeds. It is so fast, and it takes such a high commitment.
I'm losing some tire grip. My rears is not good enough. Just hanging on too much.
The characteristics that we had in first practice kind of maintained themselves, which was that the car was just too loose.
That's currently P1.
So we got up there and went quickest.
I think it was a positive change. The understeer level in a couple areas is creeping up. But the rear still can be nervous. It's just understeer's building.
Mentally, that takes a whole different deal. Your brain does not believe that a car can do that. And so it's unique. It takes a different programming in the mind, and that's why Watkins Glen is so special.
Watkins Glen, a community of 3,000 nestled in the historic Finger Lakes region of central New York State. 16 years ago, these peaceful hills echoed the thunder of high-performance sports cars, and organized road racing was reborn in the United States.
Dad and I spent a little bit of time. We drove the old road course.
What do you think, Bob?
Good day today.
Yeah.
My dad has always been, my best friend. I think he and I are identical. To have my dad next to me, to be able to learn from him, to be able to ask him questions and pick up some of his knowledge, it's always really cool. I'm very fortunate to have him.
How many times did you race here?
74 Atlantic, 78 Formula One, 79 Can-Am, 80 Can-Am and IMSA. But the first time I was here was 65 with your grandfather. Or actually, that's not even true. I think it was 61 with your grandfather when he had his little Alfa Romeo.
The story of the old course really was, big county roads. It kind of ran down, it ran through the town, and it would go right up past the Seneca Lodge and work its way up to where the racetrack is now, actually. They took that basic shape and built what is now Watkins Glen International.
Can you imagine? So here you are.
Pretty downhill, lots of trees.
This is what leads to the bridge.
Oh, here's
the bridge.
This would be awesome, though.
If you went off, you were going to hit a tree.
This would be quick. In any of those things.
Even in those cars, yeah.
Well, you'd be flat out for like days.
And on skinny little tires.
With no brakes.
Yeah, with no brakes. They were brave. You see paintings of cars hitting this railway crossing and all four wheels off the ground. So it's kind of a famous scene right here.
Yeah. Oh, look at that view.
Yeah.
The lake. That is awesome. That is so cool. The village of Watkins Glen.
So you would come onto the street, people lining both sides. I mean, they had like 50,000 people here, I think, the second year they ran it.
It's nice to get away. It's a whole different feel. It'd be fun someday when Courtney can come up and see all this.
These racing towns, they were important then, they're important now. It's a great tradition, a great history. So this is the classic right here.
This place could talk.
Seneca Lodge is a special place that's been there forever, and tradition is that the winner would go to the Seneca Lodge, they'd hang up their wreath, but if you go through there and you have dinner there or hang out at the bar there, it's unreal.
That's Jack Brabham.
That's Brabham. Okay.
Yeah.
We couldn't find the other.
That's 1970.
This is when race car drivers got dressed up.
One of the greatest things about my dad is that not only was he one of the best race car drivers to ever live, but he's a student of the sport. He loves this sport. The history, the knowledge that he has is unbelievable.
Lauda. Peter Revson.
See, he's got it all.
Phil Hill.
The old McLaren orange.
That's Elkhart Lake, that photo. Yeah, great days.
I am named after Graham Hill, which is unique because Graham did win 3 times at Watkins Glen. He was a very successful Formula 1 driver. I didn't really know the story on why I was named Graham.
Why Graham Hill?
He won a lot of championships. I think he was a 3-time world champion in Formula 1. Won Le Mans, won Indy 500. He may not have been the most talented guy, but he worked the hardest. Just a real classy guy, and
It's a good name. It's a unique name, I'm starting to hear it more, actually, but I love it. It's cool.
Welcome to historic Watkins Glen as we get set to go qualifying for tomorrow's race here at Watkins Glen International.
Everybody good to go? Copy, good. They're going already, here we go. We gotta get out of here regardless. Go, go, go.
The biggest issue Saturday was just that the car was very loose, We fought it all weekend, just couldn't get the stability out of it. Every time I would turn, the rear was wanting to come around.
Turn 9, so massively loose. Can't really gain any time in 9. I'm very slow down the back straight, almost to where on the reds I'd be willing to trim a little bit.
Mix 6, full power. Well, you're P9. Wow, this is the most we've been up.
We had a lap going that was really good, and I came to the last corner, and I just lost it.
That's Rahal off in the dirt.
I blew it. Just too loose, man. Hang on my ass and turn on. Damn it! Yeah, I was looking good till 9 there. We just lost it there. Yeah, it's P10.
I was very upset. Not necessarily that I was upset with the team, but they're angry too. They're frustrated. We expect to be up front. If we're not, it's a major frustration. I take this very seriously. I focus very hard on my racecraft, but I particularly focus very hard on qualifying better because it's been a weakness of mine over the years. And so I put a lot of energy into that.
I cannot charge a corner and I cannot attack power down and off. It's the same thing I said all weekend. You can't seem to fix it. And you can't race like this, you'll lose it.
So unfortunately, we ended up 10th, which was disappointing.
Everybody else improves and we don't. And so then we go from first, to 10th. And that's what it is.
It left us going into Sunday, scratching our heads looking for answers. Waking up on race day was hard, It pretty much it was cold, it was wet.
Good morning, everyone. Got some challenges ahead of us here, but before we get started, we do look like we have some diminishing rain chances as the day goes on. But some of those challenges could be drainage. Right now, there's a pretty good river running across at turn 7. And those challenges will also include that drainage all the way around the racetrack, obviously your grip around the racetrack, but also we'll be watching your visibility from the spray coming off of these as we go. It is a 60-lap race or 2 hours in wet conditions, whichever occurs first. It's obviously a very fast racetrack. If we get dry conditions out there, it changes everything with the elements and the weather that we all could be facing, but we'll certainly monitor that. Your guys' job, as always, is to drive it as fast as the conditions allow and make sure you are taking care of each other out there.
I've always loved the rain. I like racing in the rain. It's not something that upsets me, but it's hard to get excited. It's hard to get yourself amped up for the race when you see that. It's going to become a long day. There's going to be a lot of stress on myself as a driver and our team.
mean, my understeer level was getting way high. I softened the front bar, couldn't feel it at all.
How long do you think till slicks, Graham?
It can't be too much longer, but it still is a little, it's still wet, particularly in the back section. I mean, there's areas where I think you could get away with slicks now, turn one, but like the back section's still pretty wet.
Where we run normally with the slick tires, you put down rubber. Well, in rubber is oil, and obviously we all know oil and water don't mix.
We sure these tires are okay? I mean, look at the chunks coming out of this thing.
These rears are blistered really bad too.
The tire, it wasn't wet enough, so the tire was chunking apart. The tire was falling apart, which isn't due to any manufacturing flaw or anything. It's just that the tire is overheated.
Predicted race pace if it's dry. So the average around 85s. Fast lap will probably be around an 84. Starting P10, knowing it's difficult to pass, affords us the opportunity to try and gain track position through strategy. In the event the track is wet but dry, the car to be first on slicks, we're likely to gain track position through a caution.
I don't believe that.
There's a very, very
I think
good
you want
chance
to be third.
it will go yellow.
Slicks. Then you use somebody else as the dummy, and when you see they're getting close, you switch. But if they're still seconds off, I would say if they're still slower, they will lose more time. You don't want to be the very first, I don't think. I mean, I'll give you a pretty good idea, but what you guys see is maybe dry up here could be completely different.
Well, that's largely is you saying when you can go to slicks is the key more than anything, what anybody else does. Because if we can get out to slicks when people are doing it, though, there's a good chance one of them's going to go off.
Everyone running a lot of downforce. If it's dry, you're going to be so slow. If it doesn't, no, you have to load up.
The rain is the ultimate equalizer, and so when we looked at that on Saturday night, we realized quickly that, really where we start might not matter very much.
You don't really have anything to lose either. You're like me. I'm the same.
On the grid, we were, we're looking at the downforce levels from drivers I'd talked to, hearing what others had to say, trying to get an idea, looking what we call the Kodak wind tunnel, which is basically just, looking at others and seeing what they're doing downforce-wise and just adjusting from there.
We'll get back to dry setup.
There's a chance it misses us.
The biggest thing about Sunday really was the confusion of the whole scenario, because it showed it was going to rain all day. And it did, but it was kind of spotty. And then at times where it said it was going to hit us hard, it didn't. And at times where it said it was going to be light rain, we got drilled.
What do you want to do, Eddie? You're panicking, I can tell.
Well, it's not panicking. I certainly know what you're saying about the wet. I think we're going to suffer later.
If it dries out, we've got to head towards more of a dry type aero setup.
And if there's a chance it misses it, I think that's a good call.
We actually trimmed out a little bit on the grid, which I'm glad that we did. We were making adjustments and changes on aero setup until the time I strapped into the car.
Here at the Glen, it's time to bring the action.
We'll take the green flag and we're coming in.
Everybody's starting on wet weather tires, but they won't be on them for very long. Here at the Glen, it's time to bring the action.
Ready, green, green, green.
3 wide, Newgarden locks up. Can he keep it intact? Here comes Rossi. The pole man retakes the lead.
Look at the field spread out. No track limits. You can go anywhere you want as long as you can hang on to it. Those rain tires, I'm sure, already are begging for relief. This is such high G-forces in the corner, and the tires are going to overheat very quickly.
We actually trimmed out a little bit on the grid, which I'm glad that we did, because other guys didn't, and they were pretty easy to pass because they were so draggy.
Everyone comes down pit road to get on the slicks.
3, 2, 1. Clear high, clear high, clear high. What do you think of the car?
Very early in the race, we lost my radio communication with the pit stand.
Came up, plug his helmet or something?
We're not exactly sure what happened, but I could only hear them in a very small window on the front straight.
He was talking to me earlier.
But what that does is puts it really all into the driver's hands.
Make we think he can hear us. He doesn't realize we don't hear him. Just talk like he normally talks. Just put him in his too.
You have to manage that all on the steering wheel and within yourself. And I would just try to catch little bits of info from the guys as I would go by.
Try the radio a few times around the laps, tell him we're in our window. You know, if it's picking up at all, at least he knows.
More drama for Takuma Sato.
That's going to bring us to a full course yellow.
Most certainly, I would think you're going to put on another set of tires. It's going to be a crowded pit lane and a wet pit lane, so it's going to be very, very tricky.
When it pits up, we're going to stop. Clear high, clear high.
Set to go back to racing here at Watkins Glen. Let's go.
There were a lot of great battles. We had a lot of fun out there. You know, I think luckily it was all clean and safe battles, and so there were no contact for us all day, which is nice. But, you know, there's lots of passing.
See Graham Rahal there using push to pass to draw close enough in turn one so that right here, if I get a good exit, boom, right back on the button, and let me see if I can make the run.
He's got to run, but he might get there too soon and have nowhere to go and have to lift out of it. He was on and off of it. See that? He switched it off as he was coming up the hill because he was going to run all over the back of him.
When you see a race that starts, you know, with the threat of rain like that and it goes to the dry, it kind of throws strategy out the window and makes it an entirely new race.
Rahal working on Joseph Newgarden.
And there's the downforce in the drag. Look at Rahal just motoring by, no problem on Newgarden.
Nice job.
We had nothing to lose. You have no reason to be shy. You have no reason to be conservative. You might as well go out there and push it for everything it's got every lap.
Alexander Rossi. It didn't look like it was going his way, but it is now. Rossi wins at the Glen.
It's checkers, P5.
Watkins Glen has a lot of positives for us. I think if we look, our pit stops were great. Our strategy was spot on. Overall, you know, we had a really good day. And so there was nothing to be ashamed of. We gave it everything we had for a car that was kind of ill handling, and to come home fifth, you know, 2 thumbs up from us.
I could hear every time I keyed up. Everything was fine. Good to go. I kept asking. I asked you to repeat the fuel number a handful of times. I never heard back.
And everything else.
10 behind Rossi. That's not bad going into
at double points.
Yeah.
Right.
We take that momentum. We get excited about it. We got a little bit of a pep back in our step as a team. Go on to Sonoma, and hopefully we can finish this thing off strong. We're not a car that's going to win the championship this year. That's a fact, unfortunately. But we're still a car that can finish in the top 5, and we're going to do everything that we can to get through Sonoma really strong and come out in that position. My wife is Courtney Force. She races in NHRA in the funny car category, and you know, we've been married for almost 2 years now. Communication is the biggest key. It's difficult. There is no doubt about that. I think the entire weekend at Watkins Glen, I probably talked to Courtney for 5 minutes combined. We try to FaceTime, we try to talk on the phone, you know, we try to text. This weekend didn't provide good opportunities for that, but we give it our best. And we're going to have to continue to do that as long as both of us are racing. In this scenario where we race on Sunday in Watkins Glen and she raced on Monday in Indy, gives me the opportunity to go from my race and go be able to support Courtney on Monday.
your listening skills are suspect.
That might be on purpose sometimes.
It's called selective hearing.
Exactly.
Oh, I have selective hearing badly. So does my dad.
No, his is selective hearing because he's looking at his phone.
That was this morning. We're talking about
It's a Rahal family trait. Yeah, I didn't get to see any other than first round of the shootout.
You got a little TV on your dash when you're racing, you can watch.
I wish. I wish.
My father-in-law's a character. There's no doubt about that. You know, he has never met a camera that he doesn't love.
My daughter Courtney, right here. She's gonna win today, you hear me? Rahal's in the fight. When you put the Rahals and the Forces together, unbeatable, right? Give me a
Just love the camera, this guy.
He's off the cuff. He's gonna let it rip. He's gonna let it loose, and if you like it, you love it. If you don't, then too bad, you know, and that's the way he is, and I respect that out of him, you know. He's a great guy. He's got a great family, and he's achieved a lot in his sport. One of the most unique things about Courtney and I is that we both come from similar backgrounds. We both come from families and fathers that have had tremendous success in their given sport. We can both understand what that's like. Anybody else, they don't understand that. They don't know what that's like. They don't know what the pressure of being Bobby Rahal's son is. They don't know what the pressure of being John Force's daughter is like. For Courtney, the U.S. Nationals is our Indy 500. It is their most important race, what they call the big go. And so to be there for her is a great opportunity for me to support my wife. Good luck. When you're on the line, it's always intense. All I focus on is Courtney. If the car goes, it's gonna go. I don't care if she wins, I don't care if she loses. If she wins, then great. But as long as she gets home safe, that's always the first and most important thing for me.
I was hoping on that after the burnout you could see it, and I kept thinking I hope it's going to clean up because you could see all the raw fluid. See the fluid? See it looks like white smoke
coming out of the header.
Yeah. It looks like white smoke. That's just fluid. That's fuel.
Horsepower.
It didn't go as planned, you know, but that's drag racing. Sometimes, you know, luck is on your side. Sometimes it's against you, and today it wasn't in her favor. On the biggest day, on the biggest stage of her year, I'm not there to be an IndyCar driver. I'm not there to be Graham Rahal, whatever. It's not about me, and I like that. It's a busy lifestyle, it's a hectic lifestyle.
Pumping fluids, I know.
And then our crankshaft broke.
But you always find that peace, that happiness, and the times that you get to spend together when all the dust settles.